Hi everybody, Alex Deploy here from Expert4x, and in today's video I compare our new supercharged robot that has the potential of turning $10,000 to $1 million to the McLaren that goes from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 2.9 seconds. And what you're going to see in this video are some tests that have been done on our new EA showing results over $1 million over a 18-month period. Now, as you may know, we have a new EA coming out. It is the Expert4x hedged EA, and we did do a sneak peek into how it trades. You can actually see it trading on the trading chart in this particular video that I made a few days ago. And I sincerely hope that you go and have a look at this video to get an idea of what this EA does. The series of videos that I'm making now are all explanations of how the EAs work, and in this particular video I've decided to just focus on the results that we're getting and move away from the technical reasons why those results are being generated. Then there's another must-watch video, is how the profit recovery strategy works and why you should be using it. Again, there is the video. If you haven't seen it already, it is part of the educational process of this particular robot that will be launched. Please go and watch that video to get a better idea of how the EA works. And then lastly, the EA uses the magic moving average. There's a free course about the magic moving average downloadable from this video, and again I suggest that you have a look at this particular video to get an idea of how the trading happens and how the magic moving average allows the robot to trade with the trend. Okay, so back to our McLaren and our analogy between the high performance car and the low performance car. And what we're going to have a look at are these cars that can reach these amazing speeds, and then compare them with a normal car, and you'll see why I'm doing that. So according to McLaren, their 720S can accelerate from 0 to 100 in 2.9 seconds, or it can accelerate to 200 kilometers in 7.8 seconds. Now that's amazing speeds, and the maximum speed that it can reach is 341 kilometers an hour, and it can cover a quarter mile in 10.3 seconds. Now that's phenomenal speed. But in the end, if you're going to drive a car, now these are typical rules that apply in most countries. In fact, in New Zealand, I think the maximum speed is 100 kilometers per hour, but in general 110 or 120 kilometers is the maximum speed in most countries. In residential areas, they want you to travel at 60 kilometers per hour, and in school zones in certain countries you have to go down to 40 kilometers per hour at certain times. So you start questioning, what is the point of having a McLaren when these maximum speeds are in place? And that's because generally it's safe to travel within those limits. It's a lot safer. So we come back to this analogy, and this is a point I'm going to make in this video, is that traders tend to buy a robot and look at the highest performance that that robot is capable of, and then they target that highest performance and they put all their effort in achieving that highest performance. However, if you just stick to the reasonable financial return limits and stay within the speed limits that apply to that particular robot, you can achieve much better results traveling at a reasonable speed, and your survival rate is so much higher. So in the next video, I'm going to actually look at how we can take a robot and add multiplier settings to it to turbo boost that robot to have the potential of trading to $1 million. And what will be covered in the future video is the gap size. Now, if you've watched those previous videos, you'll understand what the gap size and the changes you can make to the gap size, the initial lot multiplier and the effect it can have, how trades can be skipped, and then how hedging lots can be adjusted. So instead of hedging one lot, you can hedge 3 lots and so on. And then there's an equity manager that we've added that is automated, that says, oh, if you've doubled your account, then you have to double your settings to achieve proportional results. So we've added the equity manager to the settings. But we'll cover that in a greater detail in a future video. Now, when you drive a car like the McLaren, and believe me, I've got experience with this, I have written off 2 high-performance Audis. Now, Audi's a really nice car. Currently, I have a BMW, and really I prefer the Audi. It takes considerable skill and experience to drive at high speeds. You really have to be an experienced driver. I know each car just has a steering wheel, it has an accelerator, it has a brake, and it has gears. And people think that if they know more or less how to use those 4 things, they can drive a motor car, and it is not the case. Secondly, it's not safe to drive at full speed. Now, we've seen this car has a full speed of 340 kilometers an hour. If you are not used to that kind of thing, you will wipe yourself out. Your accounts will get blown. If you try and trade a robot at full capacity, you will blow your account. In fact, I need to tell you a story. In the last 10 years, I have never driven a car where my wife has been in the car. Whenever she's in the car, she's the driver, and there are many reasons for that, and that has had an amazing effect on my marriage. It has been fantastic to be chauffeured around and to have peace and quiet in the car as driving occurs. High speeds increase your chance of crashing dramatically, and that's the point I want to make. If you're trying to squeeze every cent out of a robot, you are increasing your chances of blowing your accounts. And we'll see some accounts later on where the performance is fantastic, but you can reduce the performance to make it more safer. And then obviously you shouldn't drink and drive, and that applies to driving, also applies to trading. But there's something worse than drink when it comes to trading. It is your emotions. Your emotions will run away with you in trading. So just a warning, that is one of the things that you need to get control over. Anyway, so when it comes to trading, traders expect to trade at full potential all the time. They buy a robot. It's been shown to have the capacity to trade to $1 million. That's their only target. They only buy the robot because they want to reach the $1 million. But you know what? $20,000 profit won't be bad with that particular robot. As I say, emotions are the biggest obstacles to many traders. Traders underestimate the skill and experience required to trade high-performance trading robots. Traders buy a robot and they expect the supplier to just give them settings that will trade to $1 million, and they underestimate the skill and experience required to do that. Then traders tend not to take high-performance robots for test drive or to drive it very slowly at first. So what they would do is they buy the robot, put it into a live account, trade it with aggressive lot sizing, and the chances are pretty good that they'll blow their account. So robots need incredible amount of testing and getting to know the robot, getting to know the relationship between account size and lot sizes and that kind of thing. And very few traders take the time to test drive the robots. And then simply traders tend not to have skills and experience to trade high performance robots or drive high performance vehicles. So if you're doing this as a part-time exercise in the evenings or over weekends, it takes a while to develop the skills and experience to trade these high performance. They look easy. As I said, there's the steering wheel, the brake, the accelerator, and the gears that you got to keep it. That's what it looks like when you buy a robot, but there's a lot more to them. They're getting the balance between the various settings is absolutely critical, and the thing is that those balances can be dynamic or if you go for lower risk, that you are a lot more safer. Now here's an important one, and I've left it for last. It is the higher the performance potential of a trading robot, the more success is dependent on the trader. In other words, the trader is responsible for the success of the robot, not the other way around. The robot is not responsible for the success of the trader. Now I'm just going to repeat that one because that is so important. People do not realize that. The higher the performance potential of a trading robot, the more its success is dependent on the trader. Okay, now we're going to have a look at some high success robots that are actually trading. These are actual results achieved by these robots. And here you can see the RSI Liberator that was launched 2 months ago. You can see 61 days, and it has generated 160% return over those 60 days. Now that is what I would regard as a high performance. That's incredible results. It takes quite a lot of testing and experience to generate the settings that will result in those kind of returns. You can see this one has quite a low floating profit and loss at the moment, and has generated really good returns using a lot of currencies, and the balance chart is beautifully going up all the time. Another high performance robot, the Wave Liberator, is also launched at the same time, uses a slightly different entry technique, but here you can see again some really good returns, 158% over the same period, and also a small drawdown at the moment. Now these returns are actually too high. You know, I would regard them as almost unsustainable, and what I would do is taper them down a little bit to become what is more acceptable. About 30% to 15% a month is most probably more acceptable. But these robots have that capacity. So as you can see, they have generated some really good returns and don't have much of a floating loss. Then we have another RSI Liberator example here. Again, a nice 154% return over that period. This one's got a slightly larger floating loss, but again, it shows you to generate 150% over 60 days is quite exceptional. Obviously, what you would do is you would draw out your gains and then trade risk-free if those kind of returns are generated. Okay, so now what I'm going to show you is what McLaren does. It says our vehicle is capable of that performance. So they're not saying to their clients, you must go and generate that kind of performance. You must accelerate the car in 2.9 seconds, and you must accelerate the car to 340 kilometers an hour. They're not saying that to the client. They're saying the vehicle is capable of that kind of performance. So this is exactly what I'm showing you now. I'm saying that the robot that we are working on, and you'll see we are still working on it, is capable of a particular performance. But if you want to do normal things, like my wife doesn't like the McLaren. I've tried to buy it for her, but there's not enough boot space for the groceries. It is only 2 doors. She doesn't like 2 doors, and it's a bit low for her. So what she likes is a normal car that gets her to the supermarket and back. And so sometimes it's good to trade a robot in a much more conservative way and to stick to the speed limits as you're doing that. Okay, so here it is. Now you can see the hedge. It's still in development mode. It isn't even in beta mode yet. And here we have a particular currency that's been tested over an 18-month period. We started with $10,000, and it's a bit difficult to read these ones without the commas in between there, but that is $1.25 million that was generated over that time. The success rate was 61%. And here's another currency that we've tested, again well over $1 million, success rate more or less. These EAs have a very consistent success rate. And again, you can see it was just the development one. But here we are saying this EA has this potential. You know what? If you make 20,000, you're doing bloody well. And here's another example. Here's a $1.1 million being generated. Again, acceptable success rate. And what it's showing us is that this EA now has the potential. So we robot creators are doing the same as McLaren. We're saying these robots have this potential, but it is up to you as the driver of the car or the user of the robot to turn that potential into money. And what we suggest is don't drive it at full speed, just drive it in a conservative way and make money that way. So I want to just briefly come back to the slide. I'm not going to read all of them again. I'd like to read the last one. The higher the performance potential of a trading robot, the more success is dependent on the trader. And it's not a lot that the trader has to do. The trader essentially has to trade 20 strategies of this robot for a month time and learn from those 20 strategies on the demo accounts that the trader's trading. Learn which settings work, which ones don't. Change the settings accordingly. Do another month of testing. Once you've done that, you know the robot, you know which settings produce which results, and those are the kind of things that a successful trader does. An unsuccessful trader buys this robot, looks for a set file, asks for it all over, doesn't know how to generate one, and will crash this car or crash this robot very badly because of a lack of experience and knowledge. I hope you've enjoyed this video, which is basically a comparison between a high-performance sports car and a high-performance robot. And I hope I've made the point of how important it is for the trader to take responsibility about these robots. As a producer of robots, we can only produce robots that have high potential. It is up to the trader to make the best of that potential. As always, links to items mentioned in this video will be in the description of the video as well as in the commentary of the video. The launch date of this new EA is likely to be in December. It's been a bit disrupted by the Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales, and also by some personal events that's happened recently. So from me, Alex Deploy, cheerio.